Welcome to Geosynthetica's GeoTalk podcast, where we discuss geosynthetics and affiliated issues in civil and geotechnical engineering. I'm Chris Kelsey, editor of geosynthetica.net. Infrastructure projects often shape our futures for the better, but they can also be tremendous sources of pollution and lead to poor relations with a community for a project stakeholder. So how do we improve these relationships? How do we create stronger environmental programs on construction sites? How do we give communities a sense of ownership of the project? In this week's GeoTalk podcast, Karissa Agnese shares her experience with managing environmental programs on Skanska USA's work sites in the Southeastern United States. They've achieved some impressive award-winning results. Her strategies involve getting buy-in from everyone in the process. This includes workers picking up trash on site, company vice presidents overseeing budget lines, local environmental groups, and more. I'm here today with Carissa Agnese. She is a regional environmental manager with Skanska USA, and we're going to talk about creating strong environmental programs on your construction sites. Now, Carissa, you lead a large region for Skanska USA. It's the Southeast region. And you are the only person overseeing the environmental management throughout that region. And these are some major civil construction projects. Can you share some of the systems and tools you utilize to keep strong environmental programs going at these sites? Because your teams have garnered a number of awards.
Sure. I'm very lucky because even though I manage the environmental on the Southeast for Skanska, we're very lucky because all of our projects have environmental health and safety managers on them. So their main knowledge is with safety. So they mainly do safety on the jobs, but they do have the responsibility to garnish environmental. I provide them all the tools they need, anything from trainings to toolbox talks to information that they need to pass on. I also go personally and visit all of these sites and spend time with the management and with the crews. I think it's really important to have a team, and if you want to be successful, you have to build your team, and I think your team has to be built from the ground up. So you have to get people involved. And I mean, when I say people involved, you have to have people all the way down from the labor people who are, picking up the trash on your project, all the way up to your senior vice president of your company. And you have to have their buy-in and their support. Yeah. And I think it's much easier when you have that, because then everyone is a team. And in Skanska, we're all a team. Everyone's responsible for safety. Everyone's responsible for environmental, no matter what your position is. Because we find both of those things are extremely important to our company.
Yeah. You did a project in Virginia, a tunnel across the Elizabeth River.
Correct.
And that won awards all over the place, multiple state awards. But it had a lot of challenges up front, not the least of which was the fact it was a toll project.
Correct.
And that was going to meet a lot of community resistance simply because they were going to be paying more now to drive across. But what were some of the challenges you overcame with that and the creative solutions you found?
Okay, thanks. I think one of the best things to point out is this was a joint venture program. So we had two really great contractors that we worked with. So it was Skanska and Kiewit and Weeks Marine Construction. So we had three really great construction companies working together on this project, which I thought was a really good thing because we all brought different elements about the environment to the table. Yeah. And so it was a really great learning experience for me. A lot of the different challenges is, again, it was a very highly industrial area. So there was a lot of contamination, both in the river and on land, that we had to deal with. Also just the community. It's a very large community. It's a very busy community. And of course, nobody likes the toll aspect of it. We weren't the one that tolls the project. The owner tolls the project. But again, when they look at the project, all they see is the tolls, and it doesn't matter who's involved. They just look at the tolls. I think, getting the community involved and being part of the community was really important to us. And so we did a lot of outreach. We worked with a lot of the community groups with doing site cleanups, doing Clean the River programs. We worked with a community outreach group to help build oysterbergs with our waste concrete. So I think that really was a good thing for us to do, is reach out to the community, become part of the community. And our employees live in that community, so they're also benefiting their homes. So we thought that was real important. There was a lot of permitting involved with this project. It's a huge project. So anytime you have permits, you have a lot of commitments and requirements involved with permits. So making sure that everyone was educated on the site, everybody from like management down to the laborer to our subcontractors even. That was probably one of the hardest things, to make sure the subcontractor understood the requirements and what was required of them on the permits, on the regulations. We also had, Skanska has different policies and programs they had to oblige by. So making sure that everyone was highly educated and understood the commitments was really important to us.
Yeah. You've also talked about giving other groups, other people, a sense of ownership on a project. How is it you go about doing that without stepping outside of your responsibilities, what you have to do in your job? How do you bring in outside groups and make them feel connected to it?
That's a good question. I think one of the most important things I try to do is every time that we have a project that starts up, I look and see what kind of community groups are in that area and what groups might be affected by our work. I mean, everyone wants to look at construction as being a really negative thing. They don't look at the positive of it. They might look at, we might get a reduced traffic, might not be so congestion when I go home every night. But a lot of people who are like in the community, they look at how it's going to affect their homes. Is it going to, are you going to have spills? Are you going to destroy a wetland? Is there different things that are involved with that? And you have to take into consideration how they feel. This is their home, and we come into their home, and we build this big infrastructure, and not everybody wants that. Everybody wants to keep the closer community, or they don't want to lose that stretch of wetland that we have to take in order to put an approach in for a bridge or a tunnel or a highway. So the thing to do is to kind of listen to them and make sure they understand that we care. We're not just coming in there to do the job. We're coming in to be part of the community. I mean, we're there from sometimes 3, 4, 5 years at a time.
Yes.
So we become invested in that community. And so we want them to understand that. We want the community to understand that. The best thing to do is get with community groups. And so, like I said, I reach out, do some investigation. In Florida, I actually work a lot with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. They have a lot of Keep Florida Beautiful programs. Yeah. So I reach out to them for different people that they suggest I meet with or talk to. And then the big thing to do is just get our workers involved. I mean, most of the time they're looking for something to do to be involved in their community as well. They're new in the community. They don't know people. Yeah. So we'll try to reach out and do, community cleanups, cleanups of the rivers, food drives. We always look for different charities that we can give to and be involved in, children's, hospice hospitals, children's hospitals. We try to take an interest in those programs and be part of the community. And one of the things that I really admire about the company I work for, Skanska, is they always believe in leaving the community better than when we got there. Yeah. And to me, that's really important. And I think it's important, and that's a good buy-in, that the community understands that and understands that we're not coming just in there, building something and leaving. We want to be part of the community. We want to make it better for everybody there after we leave. Yeah.
And so, I mean, that goes back to what you have to say about building a team.
Yeah.
And extending that idea that I think it seems to include the community. You include agencies and nonprofits and neighborhood groups.
Right. Well, and it all starts, though, with your own group, and it starts with your own project and the people on your project. And I try to do things, too, and provide information to our crews on things they can take home with them. When we do Earth Day celebrations, I put together a calendar with for the month of April, which is when Earth Day falls, and each day has a different suggestion on how to save the earth, whether it's water, conservation, recycling, no idling, those different kind of things. And I encourage our crews to take those home and share them with their family. And I love when I get back feedback from a lot of our guys who go home and say, my kid read your calendar and they're going to start a recycling program at school, or they're going around the house figuring out things they can recycle. So you really have to start in your own business, in your own little world, and it just spreads from there, and it spreads out through your family. And I think it's really important that you show your guys how much you care about it, because when you care about it, they care about it. And I can't tell you how many times I get phone calls where people saying, hey, I never thought about this before, because when I change the oil in my truck, I just dump it on the ground. Yeah. But you taught me that I can't do that it's bad for the water, and do you know a place I can take it? And I'll take the time to try to research the community and find a place where they can take their oil and get it recycled. Or we try to arrange, cleanup times where they can bring in old electronics and we'll help them get rid of it. So it's really important because they're taking ownership. And that ownership shows on the job site, and then it turns around and shows it in the community and in their own homes.
Yeah. I imagine it makes all the checklists, all the work plans, everything flows more smoothly.
Absolutely, because you would be surprised.
Internalize that sense of responsibility.
You'd be surprised at things people come up with that I never thought about.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be out in the field, walking around the field, and I'll have somebody come up to me and say, hey, I just noticed this. What do you think about that? Or, I've been on job sites where, they pulled me over to one area and say, look, there's tadpoles in this little ditch here that we just built. And they get really excited about that, and they take ownership. And when they take ownership in it, they take pride in it. And I think that's really important. You have to take pride in the work you do. Yeah. Whether you're cleaning the porta-johns or you're making the big decisions in your company, you have to take pride and ownership in what you do.
Yeah, agreed. Karissa, thank you for sharing your time. You're doing great work.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing more of these projects in the news.
Well, I appreciate it. I work for a great company. We have great joint ventures. We have great partners. So I'm really excited with the work I do.
Thank you for sharing your time.
Thank you.
For more information on Skanska USA's construction expertise, public-private partnership work, environmental performance, and more, visit www.usa.skanska.com. We also want to recognize that Carissa sat down with us in the exhibit hall at the International Erosion Control Association 2017 annual conference and exhibition that took place in Atlanta. IECA 2018 will take place February 12th to the 14th in Long Beach, California. Visit www.ieca.org for more information, and we hope you join us there. As always, we've got a podcast article for you on geosynthetica.net. We look forward to bringing you another episode next week. Thank you for listening.